Cruzeiro Esporte Clube, commonly known Cruzeiro and referred to as Raposa, is a Brazilian multisport club based in Barro Preto, a bairro in the city of Belo Horizonte. Although they compete in a number of different sports, Cruzeiro is mostly known for its association football team. It plays in the Campeonato Mineiro, the State of Minas Gerais' Premier State League, as well as the Brasileirão, the top tier of the Brazilian Football League system. Cruzeiro are one of the only 5 clubs to have never been relegated, along with São Paulo, Flamengo, Internacional and Santos. Cruzeiro are the reigning Brazilian and Mineiro champions, having won the 2013 Brasileirão and 2014 Campeonato Mineiro. The club was founded on January 2, 1921 by sportsmen from the Italian colony of Belo Horizonte as a result of a political administrative crisis within Yale Atlético Clube at the time. Several members of Yale decided to abandon the poorly structured club and formed a new one called Societá Sportiva Palestra Italia. As a result of the Second World War, the Brazilian federal government banned the use of any symbols referring to the Axis powers in 1942. The club board members rebaptized the club with the name of a leading national symbol, the Cruzeiro do Sul. Cruzeiro play their home games at the Estádio Governador Magalhães Pinto, better known as the Mineirão, which currently holds up to 64,500 spectators. Cruzeiro's regular kit colors are blue shirts and white shorts with white socks. Olympikus are the kit manufacturers currently. Cruzeiro is one of Brazil's most accomplished clubs, having won the Brasileirão for the first time in 1966, after defeating Santos in the final series. Cruzeiro has won the Brasileirão again in 2003 and 2013, obtaining the best campaign in the present format of the competition in the aforementioned edition. Cruzeiro has also won 4 Copa do Brasil titles and the Campeonato Mineiro 36 times. Cruzeiro won the defunct competition's Tour section of Minas Gerais 5 times, the Copa dos Campeões Mineiros twice, the Torneio Icao 10 times and the Super Campeonato Mineiro once. Raposa also obtained many international laurels such as 2 Copa Libertadores, 2 Supercopa Libertadores, 1 Recopa Sudamericana, 1 Copa de Ouro and 1 Copa Master de Supercopa. Cruzeiro is the only Brazilian and South American club to complete the domestic treble, a feat accomplished in 2003 after winning the Campeonato Mineiro, the Copa do Brasil and the Brasileirão. Cruzeiro hold a long-standing rivalry against Atlético Mineiro. It has contributed many key and famous players towards Brazil's FIFA World Cup squads such as Piazza, Tostão, Nilinu, and Ederson. The club is the 10th most valuable club in Brazil, worth over $88 million. In terms of revenue, Cruzeiro is also one of Brazil's richest sports club and the 9th biggest football club in Brazil, generating an annual turnover of over $59 million in 2012. History: Cruzeiro's history is traced back to the Italian community living in Belo Horizonte, a city where already some Italian immigrants lived, and their desire to set up a football club. Similar to the Italians of São Paulo, the people of Belo Horizonte wanted the Italian colonies in Minas Gerais to have its own club as well. The idea of the club being created took a big step when Yale, a sports team from the city, went through an administrative crisis. When some players left Yale over a dispute, some went on to found the all-Italian Societá Sportiva Palestra Italia of Belo Horizonte. On January 2, 1921, about 72 Italians had appeared for the foundation of the Società Sportiva Palestra Italia. The adopted colors were the same as of the Italian flag, green, red, and white. The first uniform of the club was a green jersey, white shorts and red stockings. On the club's shield, in the form of a rhombus, were the initials SSPI. Until 1925 the club would only allow Italian men to participate. Palestra debuted in the Prado Mineiro Stadium with a 2-0 win in a friendly on April 3, 1921, against a combination from Nova Lima. The Nova Lima team united players from 2 teams from the city, Vila Nova, and Palmeiras, another team formed Nova Lima. However, the first official match of Palestra was in a 3-0 win over future arch-rivals Clube Atlético Mineiro. In 1927, in a Mineiro's championship match. On January 1942, Brazil entered World War II and a decree of the federal government forbade the use of terms from enemy nations in entities, institutions, establishments, etc. With this, the Italian name was removed and the club could no longer call themselves Palestra Italia. The name was changed to Societá Sportiva Palestra Mineiro. The new name did not last long and was changed to Ipiranga by club president Enciro Poni. But because Enciro Poni did not consult any of the club's directors before changing the club's name and because the club lost on their debut, the name only lasted one game. In a meeting between the club's directors, the name Cruzeiro Esporte Clube was approved. Cruzeiro is the constellation of the Southern Cross, and can only be seen from the Southern Hemisphere, therefore not related to Italy. The club's colours changed to a blue shirt and blue stockings, and white shorts. Only, however, in November 1942, did Cruzeiro Esporte Clube play its first official game under its new name. The game happened on November 11, 1942, against Arma Copyright Rica with Cruzeiro winning 1-0. With the inauguration of the Mineiro Poundo in 1965, Cruzeiro entered one of the most successful periods in its history, in which the club won 5 Campeonato Mineiro titles in a row, and went on to win its first national title, the 1966 Tour section of Brazil, beating Santos of Pela Copyright in the final. Cruzeiro won the first leg 6-2 at the Mineiro Poundo, and the second leg 3-2 in São Paulo. In the 1974 Campeonato Brasileiro São Copyright Rie Cruzeiro were runner-up for the first time, after losing to Vasco in the finals. Later in 1975, Cruzeiro were runner-up in the Campeonato Brasileiro once again, this time losing to Internacional. In 1976, Cruzeiro won its first Copa Libertadores de Arma Copyright Rica, over River Plate of Argentina. Cruzeiro went on to be runners-up of the same competition in 1977, being defeated in the finals by Boca Juniors, also of Argentina. After winning the 1976 Copa Libertadores, they participated in the 1976 Intercontinental Cup, now renamed the FIFA Club World Championship, for the first time and tied Bayern Munich 0-0 at the Mineiro Poundo, but lost 2-0 to Bayern in the Olympia Stadion. After tasting success in the 1960s and 1970s, Cruzeiro entered a dark period in the 1980s. With the exception of a couple of Campeonato Mineiro wins, the club won no other championships in the 1980s, and had its worst performances in the Campeonato Brasileiro, 33rd in 1984 and 29th in 1985. The 1980s was the only decade Cruzeiro did not participate once in the Copa Libertadores since the tournament's creation in 1960. In the 1990s a new era began, and a 15-year sequence of at least one title per year was initiated. This included 6 of the club's 7 international championships and a Campeonato Brasileiro. In December 2010 the CBF also recognized Cruzeiro as Brazilian champion of 1966, for having beaten Santos of Pela Copyright 6-2 in Belo Horizonte and 2-3 in São Paulo. The club's biggest exploit in the 21st century happened when it won the Campeonato Brasileiro São Copyright Rie. With 100 points earned during the season, and just over 100 goals scored in 46 matches, it was one of the most successful campaigns ever by a club in a Brazilian championship. In 2003, besides winning the Campeonato Brasileiro São Copyright Rie, Cruzeiro also won the Copa do Brasil and the Campeonato Mineiro, to become the first Brazilian team to win the Triple Crown. From 2003 to 2012 Cruzeiro have only won one major tournament, the Campeonato Mineiro. However, the club finished in the top 5 of the Campeonato Brasileiro in 2007, 2008, 2009 and 2010, guaranteeing a spot in the Copa Libertadores for 4 consecutive years. In 2010, after a great campaign in the Campeonato Brasileiro Série A, Cruzeiro took the second place and qualified for the Copa Libertadores da America for 2011. Cruzeiro's biggest success in recent years was reaching the finals of the 2009 Copa Libertadores, however, they lost to Estudiantes de La Plata 2-1. After a disastrous 2011 season, escaping relegation only in the last round after a triumphant 6-1 against arch-rival Atlético de Vespasiano, Gilvan Tavares became president for the 2012-2013-2014 triennium. 2012 was slightly better than 2011, but still Cruzeiro won no titles. In 2013 Cruzeiro lost Campeonato Mineiro again, despite displaying a good game against smaller clubs. Copa do Brasil started promising but Cruzeiro was knocked out by future champion Flamengo in the quarter-finals. After the elimination Cruzeiro went all into Campeonato Brasileiro and was crowned champion for the third time, this time 4 rounds before the championship ended, playing an offensive and intense game that led many, including press and runner-ups, to attribute the title many rounds before the mathematical confirmation. Symbols, colors. When Cruzeiro was still known as Palestra Italia, the home shirt color was green. The first home kit was an improvised dark green shirt, with white shorts and green stockings. Cruzeiro used this kit in their first professional game on April 3, 1921, in the Prado Mineiro Stadium, with a 2-0 win over the Vila Nova Palmeiras combined team, of Nova Lima. In 1928 the shirt became a lighter tone of green, with a white neck design and red cuffs. The shorts continued to be white, but the green stockings now had red and white details, similar to that of the Italian flag. This particular uniform was used up until 1940. The light green color of the shirt would later give the team the nickname Periquito, Portuguese for parakeet. In 1940 there was a big change to the shirt. The shirt began to feature horizontal stripes, with the club crest in the center. This was the shirt used to win the 1940 Campeonato da Cidade Euro, now known as the Campeonato Mineiro Euro, after the club had been unable to win the tournament for 10 years. The club also began to be called Tricolor instead of Periquito. In 1942 Cruzeiro played one game under the name Ipiranga, and for this game a blue shirt with a central horizontal stripe was used. In 1943 Cruzeiro played its first game under its current name. The shirt used then was an all-blue shirt with a large white V-neck design. The shorts and stockings were white. In 1950, due to bad stadium lighting, Cruzeiro began to use an all-white shirt during night games. The shirt, which featured blue details and blue shorts and white stockings, was used for 9 years. In 1956, Cruzeiro used, for a short while, a new shirt that was made up of white and blue horizontal stripes. The uniform was not used in many games. There was a change to the shirt in 1959. The shirt became all blue, a design that would influence later shirts. In the 1959 shirt, instead of using its normal crest, Cruzeiro simply used the 5 stars, in the crest, loose on the shirt. The shirt made its debut in the Estádio dos Mineirões, in a friendly match against Renascença Section A, on September 19. In 1984 Cruzeiro had the first ever company logo on its shirt. It was the shirt manufacturer's logo, which was Topper. In the same year Cruzeiro had its first shirt sponsor, Medrade. Medrade was only used on the away shirt's crest. The first Palestra Italia crest was a rhombus whose top half was red and bottom half was green. In the center of the crest was a white circle with the letters P and I inside it. The following year, 1922, the club's crest maintained its rhombus shape, but was now completely white, with the letter P, S and I, inscribed within it in green. In 1923, the crest lost its rhombus shape and instead just had the green letters S, P and I. From 1928 to 1939 the crest was identical to the first crest in 1921. Just 1 year later the crest became a little different, the top half was green and the bottom half was red, similar to the crests from 1921 and 1929 Euro 1939, but instead of green letters in its center, It now had the letters S, P and I in yellow. The crest introduced in 1940 would be the last for Palestra, because the club would soon become kɾuôt. kɾuոտ's first crest was introduced in 1950 and was very simple, a blue circle, with a white border, inside of which were 5 white stars, positioned to look like the Southern Cross. This first crest was used for over 9 years, until 1959. In 1959 the crest changed, now with a white border around the crest with the words Cruzeiro Esporte Clube Belo Horizonte in blue. This version of the crest was used until 1996, making it the longest used crest by Cruzeiro. In the same year, Cruzeiro removed Belo Horizonte from the crest. This format was used until 2005. In 2006, to honor its successful 2003 season, a crown was added on top of the crest, to symbolize the Triple Crown. Cruzeiro has not always used its official crest on its shirt. In 1959, instead of using its crest, the club opted to simply put the 5 stars from the Southern Cross on its shirt. This was done until 2000, when the actual crest was once again used. In 2002 and in part of 2003 the loose stars were used. Partway through 2003 a new shirt that contained the actual crest was introduced, but instead of just using the regular crest the shirt featured 2 Copa Libertadores trophies on top of the crest. In 2004 a similar design was used, but now featured a crown, symbolic of the Triple Crown on top of the 2 trophies. Since 2007 the club has used the loose stars design on home shirts. It should be noted that none of these designs actually became the official club crest. Anthem. The club's anthem, Hino o Campeão, was written by J. Dirambra k噚'zejɾu in 1966, in homage to the team of his heart. He never meant for it to become the official anthem, but once fans started hearing it they liked it enough to adapt it as the new anthem. Cruzeiro have also had another anthem that was originally written by Arrigo Bozzacchi and Tolentino Miraglia when the club was still Italian and when it was still called the Palestra Italia. The anthem was published in newspapers in Brazil on May 5, 1922. It was called Hino o Palestra. Mascot, Fernando Pierochetti, more popularly known as Mangiabera, created the club's mascot, a Raposa. Mangiabera was inspired by the club's ex-president, Mario Grossa. He was a director who let no one trick him. He was sly, agile, intelligent and skillful like a fox. In the 2000s, Cruzeiro has made the Raposa Poundo its biggest mascot, appearing at all home games and cheering with the crowd while wearing the club's colors. Presidents. Current squad. Note: flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. Out on loan. Note: flags indicate national team as defined under FIFA eligibility rules. Players may hold more than one non-FIFA nationality. First team staff, notable players. Former coaches, records and statistics. The player with the most appearances for Cruzeiro is Czar copyright Carlos with 619 appearances between 1965 and 1977. The goalkeeper with the most appearances for Cruzeiro is Raul Plasman, who played a total of 557 games for Cruzeiro. Current goalkeeper Fabio is third on the list, with 366 games, as well as being the current player with the most appearances. The non-Brazilian with the most appearances for the club is the Argentine Roberto Perfumo, who made 138 appearances for the club between 1971 and 1974. Brazilian Hall of Famer Tosta Poundo has scored the most goals for Cruzeiro, 249 between 1963 and 1972. Nina Poundo holds the record for goals scored in a single match, 10 in Cruzeiro's 14-0 win over Alves Nogueira during Campeonato da Cidade on June 17, 1928. Nalinu holds the record for most goals scored from penalties, 38. And the record for goals scored from fouls, 42. Walter Montillo's 39 goals make him the non-Brazilian with the most goals for Cruzeiro. Honors, Regional, Campeonato Mineiro, 1926, 1928, 1929, 1930, 1940, 1943, 1944, 1945, 1956, 1959, 1960, 1961, 1965, 1966, 1967, 1968, 1969, 1972, 1973, 1974, 1975, 1977, 1984, 1987, 1990, 1992, 1994, 1996, 1997, 1998, 2003, 2004, 2006, 2008, 2009, 2011, 2014, Copa dos Campeões Mineiros, 1991, 1999, Supercampeonato Mineiro, 2002, Tour Section of Minas Gerais, 1973, 1982, 1983, 1984 and 1985, Tournament Start, 1926, 1927, 1929, 1938, 1940, 1941, 1943, 1944, 1948 e 1966, Copa Sul-Minas 2001, 2002, Copa Centro-Oeste, 1999, National, Campeonato Brasileiro ZAR Copyright RIE, 1966, 2003, 2013, Copa do Brasil, 1993, 1996, 2000, 2003, International, Copa Libertadores de Arma Copyright Rica, 1976, 1997, Supercopa Sudamericana, 1991, 1992, Copa de Ouro, 1995, Recopa Sudamericana, 1998, Supercopa Masters, 1995, Featured Campaigns and Doubles/Trebles, Featured Campaigns, Campeonato Brasileiro ZAR Copyright RIE, Runners-Up, 1969, 1974, 1975, 1998, 2010, Third Place, 1973, 1989, 1995, 2000, 2008, Fourth Place, 1968, 1987, 2009, Copa do Brasil, Runners-Up, 1998, Semi-Finalist, 2005, Copa Libertadores de Arma Copyright Rica, Runners-Up, 1977 and 2009, Third Place, 1967, 1975, Supercopa Sudamericana, Runners-Up, 1988 and 1996, Supercopa Masters, Runners-Up, 1992, Campeonato Mineiro, Runners-Up, 1922, 1923, 1924, 1925, 1926, 1927, 1932, 1933, 1936, 1938, 1950, 1954, 1955, 1962, 1970, 1971, 1976, 1978, 1979, 1980, 1981, 1982, 1983, 1985, 1986, 1988, 1989, 2000, 2005, 2007, 2013, Doubles/Trebles, Doubles, Domestic Double, State and League, 1966, Continental Double, State and Supercopa Sudamericana, 1992, State and Copa Libertadores, 1997, Trebles, Domestic Treble, State, Cup and League. 2003 Areas to the first, grounds and facilities. Cruzeteiro's first stadium was the Estádio do Prado Mineiro, which belonged to the Federação Mineira de Futebol. The club's first game at the stadium was 2-0 win over Vila Nova Palmeiras combined team from Nova Lima on April 3, 1921. Cruzeiro would use the stadium until 1923 when the club built its own stadium, Estádio do Barro Preto. On July 23, 1923 Cruzeiro debuted at the stadium in a 2-2 tie with Flamengo. In 1945 the stadium went through renovations and would become at that time the largest stadium in the state with a capacity of 15,000 and later on would become known as Estádio Governador kɾumô̔ejɾu would use the stadium until 1965, when the Mineirão Poundo was opened. In 1983 the stadium was torn down and one of the club's social clubs was built there. Since 1965 kɾumô̔ejɾu play their home games at Estádio Governador Magalhães Pinto, often referred to as just Mineirão Poundo in Belo Horizonte, MG. kɾumô̔ejɾu shares the stadium with rivals Clube Atlético Mineiro. The stadium does not belong to kɾumô̔ejｒu, rather it belongs to the State of Minas Gerais and is administrated by the stadium's administration of the State of Minas Gerais. The stadium, which was built in 1963, had an original capacity of about 130,000, but over the years that capacity has been reduced, and currently it seats 64,800. Named after former Minas Gerais Governor José Copyright de Magalhães Pinto, it took over 4,000 workers to build the stadium. The period after the stadium's inauguration is often called Era Mineirão Poundo, which saw kɾumô̔ejｒu gain national and international prominence. kɾumô̔ejրu also holds the attendance record at the stadium, when 132,834 spectators watched kɾumô̔ejru beat Vila Nova in the 1997 Campeonato Mineiro final. kɾumô̔ejru have had plans to build a new stadium, especially under President Alvima de Oliveira Costa's tenure. However, the state of Minas asked kɾumô̔ejru to stay at the stadium, and after President Zezé Copyright Perella came to the presidency in 2009, plans for a new stadium virtually disappeared. The Mineirão Poundo was selected as a host stadium for the 2014 FIFA World Cup, with renovations beginning on June 25, 2010 and is projected to be completed by December 2012. After the stadium's closing, kෘuốtsairo began playing home games at the Arena do Jacaré Copyright and Ipatinga Poundo stadiums, both outside the city of Belo Horizonte. Independent NCIA Stadium is also being renovated and kෘuốtsairo will start playing home games there in 2011 until the Mineirão Poundo is ready in 2012. The club has private ownership of other facilities though, including 2 training facilities, an administrative headquarters and 2 social club facilities. kෘuốtsairo has often been praised for having one of the leading infrastructure systems in Brazil. Administration and finances. kෘuốtsairo's bylaw refers to the club being a non-profit organization, where the real owner are es๊poɾtʃi or members. This means that unlike some European clubs and North American sport franchises, the club cannot be sold. kෘuốtsairo also acts as a social club, which es๊poɾtʃi get access to. Currently there are 6,000 paying es๊poɾtʃi. es๊poɾtʃi are not to be confused with es๊poɾtʃi do futebol who pay an annual fee for privileges such as season tickets, but are not allowed to vote for club officials. Those who have been es๊poɾtʃi for over a year, form the General Assembly, and may vote for club officials. After 2 years of membership, es๊poɾtʃi can nominate themselves for the council. Only members who have been part of the council for at least 10 years may run for the presidency and vice presidency. Politician Zezé Copyright Perella is the current club president. kෘuốtsairo was the 5th richest Brazilian club in 2009 in terms of revenue with about a $121.3 million. This is a 29% increase from a 2008 revenue of a $94.1 million and a 56% increase from a 2007 revenue of a $77.6 million. Much of kෘuốtsairo's revenue comes through the selling of players. Between 2004 and 2008 the club sold a $181 million worth of player, ranking 3rd in Brazil. kෘuốtsairo also relies on sponsorship and currently has 3 shirt sponsors, Banco BMG, Ricardo Eltro and Questa Poundo de Estilo Jeans, and although the club does not release any official figures on sponsorship, the deals are speculated to be worth a total of about $15 million annually. Kit supplier Reebok reported pays $8 million annually. From ticket sales the club will make around $27 million in 2010. In 2009 ticket sales generated $18 million. kෘuốtsairo is one of the most financially stable Brazilian football clubs. As of 2009, Cruzeiro debts total are $97.7 million. This puts the club 13th among the most in-debt club in Brazil. Among Brazil's most prominent clubs, only São Paulo has less debt. The club's current debt is also a decrease from a 2008 debt of $131.6 million. In 2009, the club was ranked as the 7th most valuable club in Brazil, being worth $139 million. In 2008, the annual salary for the club's players totaled $6.2 million, significantly less than its European counterparts. Supporters. Cruzeiro is the best supported club in the state of Minas Gerais, with about 30% of the state's population being a supporter of the club. Most surveys have put the club's fan base between 3%-4% of the overall Brazilian population. Considering a population of 200 million people, that would mean approximately 5.8-7.0 million supporters. Cruzeiro's fan base is also known as No Pica-Volta Pondo Azul, or China Azul, given its large size and growth in the last decades. Curiously, this nickname was given by the @ckruʻzejɾu fan Roberto Drummond, who recognized in one of his articles the growth of Cruzeiro's fan base, and he even predicted the hegemony of Cruzeiro's fan base in Belo Horizonte, Minas Gerais and in Brazil. This prediction has been proved since all the researches by the main institutes show Cruzeiro to have a much larger fans base than the @ckruʻzejɾu. Cruzeiro's fan base in the state of Minas Gerais has grown throughout the years. In the 1930s, the club trailed rival @ckruʻzejɾu, who had 46.2%, while Cruzeiro had 35.9% of the popular support. That gap would decrease in the 1960s, though even in the 1980s @ckruʻzejɾu still had a larger fan base. In the early 1970s, however, most of the younger fans were already for Cruzeiro. Surveys in the 1990s showed Cruzeiro's fan base as the new number one in the state, a gap which has increased in the 21st century. In 1998, 26% of the people of Minas Gerais were for Cruzeiro, against 16% for @ckruʻzejɾu. In 2005, 32.8% of the people of Minas Gerais were for Cruzeiro, and 16.9% for @ckruʻzejɾu. In 2009, 31% of the people of Minas Gerais were for Cruzeiro and 15% for @ckruʻzejɾu. Originally, Palestra's support came from the Italian immigrant community. The working-class identity remained when the club became known as Cruzeiro, and the supporters spread beyond the Italian community. The club's main rival is @ckruʻzejɾu Mineiro, but other rivals include @ckruʻzejɾu, Vasco da Gama, São Paulo, Palmeiras, Corinthians, and Grêmio. A 2010 survey showed Cruzeiro's fan base had an average monthly family income of $1,342.45. For comparison, this is slightly lower than @ckruʻzejṟu Mineiro. The highest was Internacional, and the lowest was Flamengo. On July 14, 2008, Law No. 9590/2008 sanctioned Cruzeiro and Cruzeirense Day in Belo Horizonte, which will be celebrated every January 2. Notes. References. External links. Official website, news, Cruzeiro at Globo Esporte, Cruzeiro at Super Esportes, Cruzeiro at Placar, Cruzeiro at Lawn Senate, Cruzeiro at UOL Esporte.